Okay, welcome. I'm Dr. Trish. This is a welcome video for EFR 504, History and Philosophy of Education. If you have both this class and 503, you'll hear some redundancies. Those of you who don't know me, this is beginning my 21st year at Nichols. So I began in the summer of 2000. And so I'm kind of the old guy around here now. This is a class that I've been teaching for quite a while, ever since we used to have a philosophy class or a history class. You generally would take one or the other. We combined them. And that very much changed, I think, the way we, what I did to teach the class. I think it's a better way these days. So you'll get both aspects of history and philosophy, or history of education and philosophy of education. And I would argue, and have many times, that the history of education is the history of philosophy. They were really one and the same until probably the 18th century. I think they begin to diverge under John Locke in his writings, and then some of the other writers. So that as the philosophy built upon everything that had gone before it, in terms of logic and in terms of morality and ethics, moral philosophy, ethics, then you began to see where the two diverged, because schools remained what they were. They began to change during that period. And that philosophy went off into a much more speculative sphere, whereas prior to that, I think philosophy was a much more practical exercise. And so, what I would argue, what I argue is that when you teach, you're doing philosophy. So the whole structure of teaching, the way you set up your lesson plan, the way you deliver that, the way you reflect upon your teaching, is a philosophical exercise. Without, and we'll get into some of this a little bit with some of the readings. That gives you a brief instance. Let me pull up the, so I'm just realizing that in my previous, I've already done the welcome video for 503, and I don't think I did that right in terms of the screen sharing. Hopefully that's not too big of an issue. I don't think it should be. But here you see, for sure, all of you see the an outline for this video. So I talked to you a little bit about me. The other thing is I'm married for 41 years, and I have 3 grown children. I do live in Baton Rouge. So let's, and you know, all my kids are doing pretty well. Um, let me then, I guess let me stop share because I want to share. So I want to share the syllabus real quick. So I'm going to go back and forth a little bit. I hope this syllabus, I found mistakes on my 503 syllabus I got to fix. Anyway, looks like I don't see them. Anyway, so there's the my personal information. Don't worry about the office hours. You know, I don't think they really want us on campus that much. I do plan to be on campus on June 1st, Monday. And I do plan, right now I'm planning to be on campus on June 11th, although I'm supposed to be involved in some meetings, or at least a meeting. They may do that virtually. And so I may come that day anyway, or may come another day. There's my phone numbers. You can ignore the office phone number because I'm not going to be there much. Even if you left a message on my office phone, I don't think I remember how to retrieve my messages remotely. So the best thing to do is to call my cell or to email me. And that's the best way to get in touch with me. Particularly if you want to set up a meeting, we can have virtual meetings. I am available for that at any time. I say that, of course, there'll be some times when I won't be, but we will work that out and set up the appointments. And we can do that as I'm doing now with Zoom, or we can use FaceTime, or even just a telephone call. There are 3 books. I've sent that information out, particularly for the Klebard and Jackson book, abooks.com, or the best way to, if you're going to purchase that. I'm told that I think the Union Bookstore is already out. I did get an email about delivery times. And I think if you order now, the 5 to 10 or 5 to 14 days is probably good. I ordered recently from Books, and I got it in 7 days. So I think it'll work. The first assignment in Fowler you can do without having read any of the book. So, and we'll go over the Fowler stuff. So, the Fowler process, I'm sorry. Let's talk a little bit about The Moral Life of Schools, the Jackson, Borstrom, and Hansen book. I'm going to stop. See, I'm going to stop sharing this and share the notes. So I think right now I've left the Jackson project assignment a bit vague, but as of today, this is supposed to be a field experience in which you do observations, and we'll get into this more. I'll have a video on the Jackson reading. There's probably one up now, an older one, but I'm trying to do new videos for all of this using Zoom. So I will put up video links that you can observe a video classroom and do the observation. So, and just I'll leave that at, and you'll do 2 of those for the summer. Usually do 3, but because it's the summer, I shorten that up by 1. I don't know. Generally, I like you to use the same teacher. I don't know if that's even possible with these videos. So to do 2 different classes with the same teacher. It's a way, so the observation is using the moral life of schools to look at classroom practice in a different sense. And I'll leave it at that, and I'll go into that some more. And then the Fowler book is the Narrative Research Project, Curriculum of Difficulty. I'll go over that again in a bit. Kleebard is a basic historical text on how we developed an American curriculum, at least from Kleebard's perspective. So he will pick up kind of where the readings leave off. And I'm not a narcissist. I don't think I'm necessarily always the smartest person, but the 3 readings that you will do, or 2 of the readings you will do, I'm sorry, for glosses or 2 readings that I was a co-author in. So he will pick up where the Puritan origins of technological understanding kind of leaves off in a way of thinking about curriculum. And so the assignment for that are 5 short essays. The essay questions are in the instructions for Portfolium. So Portfolium, if you're not familiar with it, is the portfolio assessment site that we now use. It replaced LiveText, if you're familiar with that. And the best thing about Portfolium, it doesn't cost you anything, and you keep it forever. But all of your submissions in Portfolium will go through Moodle. They're all linked and ready to go. So I think what I'm going to do is, as I think about this, and maybe make it easier, is I will post the 5 questions for these essays. Now, these essays are really the last thing you turn in the last week of summer, of the June session. So you have some time for this book. And as I say, with Jackson and Kleebard, and in the other class, the G book, any addition works fine for this. And these are meant to be short essays, no more than 3 paragraphs, 2 or better. Now for the glosses, the 3 readings, these are in Moodle. You have the reading by Plutarch on the education of children. It's from the 1st century. He's a Greek Roman, if that makes any sense. So he's Greek, and he's educated as a Greek, but he lives in the Roman world. The great thing about Plutarch, of all the ancient writers, is we have everything he wrote. So this is a reading that basically he talks to um, a citizen of his city, the citizens of his city, about the things that you need to do to educate your child and the kinds of decisions you need to make and what it all means. Despite, it was probably written in Greek. It may have been written in Latin and translated. So you got the translation issue. The version I'm using now, I think, is a friendlier translation. There will be ideas and maybe even words that may be a bit foreign to you. That's why I have it up there. Read with the internet handy. Whenever you come across a word you're not sure about, just put it in the internet and it'll come up, and it slows down the reading process, but that's okay. Despite the fact that we only have 4 weeks, we have all the time in the world. So it gives you, and I'll talk about this in my video on Plutarch, which, by the way, I will offer to you live. Probably 2 of the videos, if not all 3, will be offered to you live, so that you can join in through Zoom, although it will not be mandatory. And we're probably looking towards the end of next week for that. But I will send that out so you can I'm looking at something real quick. So it'll be maybe Friday of next week, or it could be the 5th, or it might be maybe Monday the 8th. I'll send an email out and let you know when I'm going to do that. I hope some of you join me. It'll be early afternoon. Because my wife uses the computer. My wife uses the computer in the morning for her job. The 2 other readings, Quest for Method and Puritan Origins, are actually were at one time part of the same article. We were advised by editors, and I wrote these both with my friend Douglas McKnight, who teaches curriculum at the University of Alabama. So what we're dealing with here in both of these articles are the origins, if you will, of the very concept of curriculum. These are the 3 parts of the historical piece. But as I said, in dealing with history early on, the history of education, we're dealing with the history of philosophy. So there's the philosophical concepts are all part of this. The Jackson book, the philosophical aspects of that are basically ethics. It's part of what is called axiology. It's somewhat moral philosophy, but also ethics, but in a classroom context. So, and then Fowler, you're getting other philosophical, more recent philosophical ideas, 19th and 20th century particularly. I want to go jump to the syllabus again real quick. and finish up. You see the due dates for these. The videos will come prior to that. You do not have to submit a gloss until you view the video on that reading. A gloss, let me stop. So a gloss is pretty simple. There are instructions for the gloss in Portfolium, and in the directions for each of the gloss assignments. But it's a kind of critical summary in which you don't merely summarize, but you bring your ideas, your experiences to talking about the concepts the author is talking about. It may not surprise you. It may surprise you, actually, that once you get through some of the language and concepts, you'll find Plutarch's The Training of Children very current in terms of schools and life today. The curriculum of difficulty, here I lay out the process. It's really 3 stages. I've got 4 here, but one's just laying out the 3 stages. First, you will write me a paragraph. That will be due pretty quickly, June 6th. You do not need the Fowler book to do this. Again, I have instructions. I mean, these are the instructions on this. There are instructions. I guess I put them in Portfolium, but but basically just a paragraph without engaging in any reflection on a difficult situation, particularly within a classroom or school environment. For others, it could be, for the higher ed folks, this could be a work environment. And I urge the higher ed folks, if you have any questions about this assignment, please get in touch with me. I'm very open and helpful to make sure that we craft this assignment to fit your situation, whether you're thinking of working as an administrator or as a coach or some other aspect of athletics or some other aspect in the university. So that paragraph is due to me by email. Don't submit it, by email by June 6th. You will then apply some of Fowler's work. That's why by that second week, hopefully the Fowler book will be in shortly after that. And she goes through orbitals, with these stages she calls orbitals. And you want to apply 2, 3, 5, and 6 particularly to your paragraph. And I'll talk about this more. I'll have a session. You will turn in a rough draft of this to me by the 17th, which then I will read and return to you with suggestions. I'll do some editing maybe. So I spent a good bit of time with each draft. And then once I send that back to you, you turn around and fix whatever I think needs to be fixed, or add whatever it is you need to add, and you would submit that in Portfolium on the 25th. Now, what you'll see in Portfolium, so that's also the day the Klebard essays are due. So I would work on those essays while you're waiting for my feedback on your curriculum of difficulty draft. What you'll see in Portfolio too, as terms, it asks for a due date. And so I do have a due date, but don't let it throw you, because the due date is June 26th, which is the day grades are due, in 8 in the morning. Okay. So it will close you out if you think you're going to wait till after that. So that is your drop dead day to get everything into me. It's important to try to keep pace with the due dates as close as you can. I have one person has already submitted 2 glosses. She had me in the spring, so she kind of knows what a gloss is about. I think I will, and what I do with the glosses particularly is there's a chance I can ask you to resubmit and give you feedback on what you may want to do with the gloss, because I want you to get. I'm not here to be pedantic. I'm not here just to give you a grade. It's about the process and the thinking process and how to think about this stuff, because everything that you're reading has application for today. This isn't like history for history's sake. This is history to learn about your own practice. All right, so it shouldn't be, they shouldn't be dry in that sense. Because what we do in classrooms today, outside of the technologies, but even with the technologies, is not that much different from what we've been doing in classrooms since Plutarch, or since even earlier Plato. Okay, none of us teach like Socrates, because he would teach in the town square, the agora, under a tree. Okay, we may use the Socratic method, okay, and that can work well, but we still don't teach the way he did. Okay, but we do teach closer to how Plato taught, or how Aristotle taught, or Cicero, or Quintilian, who were 2 Romans, or Plutarch, another Roman. And then, so we things are not really all that different, except for the larger classes. They would never have had 20 to 30 students at any one time, nor would they have had that through the Middle Ages. That begins to come in to play in the 16th century. And that's when schools began to fundamentally change from the medieval structure. You see that, and as you see from the 2 readings that you're gonna that I wrote, I engage in curriculum history. That's what I do. That's what I find interesting. Okay, so I think that about does it. Again, have any question, you need to talk to me about anything, please email me. If there's something urgent, you can text me. Otherwise, email me. If you need to, the problem with calling me is you won't be in my phone. I do tend to answer the 985 calls that I get, although I do get, spam calls from that number as well. So emailing me or texting me first, let me know you're going to call. And if you text me, identify yourself. Don't just text me, assume I'm going to know who it is. Say, this is so-and-so in your 504 class. And that way I know where you come from. All right. So thank you. And I will have an email out on the